Hello, and welcome to this tutorial for BioXTAS RAW. In this tutorial, we will learn how to set normalization options for reducing 2D images to 1D scattering profiles, as well as a couple other minor conveniences. This is the last of 3 parts in the kind of basic series of setting up a configuration file for reducing 2-dimensional images to 1-dimensional scattering profiles. If you haven't done the previous 2 parts, you should do so now. This tutorial uses the raw tutorial data found on the RAW website. So in order to get started, we're going to open the Options, Advanced Options window, and we're going to go to the image header/format. Next, we're going to click on the Load Image, and we're going to load in the silver beacon image. What this does is it actually loads in the header, and so if you scroll down this list, you can see all the possible options that are available either in the header file or in the image header itself that we can use, for example, for normalization. Next, I'm going to click Apply, which saves the settings into the raw settings, and then I'm going to go to the normalization. This is the normalization list. You can add items to this list, and whatever expression you add will be carried out on every integrated scattering profile in the order they're applied in the list. So in this case, we want to normalize by the transmitted intensity at this beamline that's called I1. We can either type that in or we can use this drop-down menu to see the available options and select I1. And you'll notice over here it's divide, there's also plus, minus, and multiply. So in this case we want to divide by the transmitted intensity, so I'm going to divide by I1. You then want to click Calc, and it's going to tell you what this expression you've entered here is. I1 equals 7,200, so that means you know that it has that properly. This could also be a more complex expression. It could involve multiple different pieces of header information or something like that, but we just need a simple divisor. So then you click Add, and you can see it appears in the list. If you want to modify the list, you can select the item. If we had multiple items, we could move the order up and down to which order they happen in. We could delete it. We could remove all the items. For what we want, though, just having this single divided by the transmitted intensity is all we need, and so we're good to go. I'm now going to click OK, and this will exit the window. So now we're ready to actually load in our first image. I'm just going to double click it, and that'll automatically reduce it from the image to a scattering profile, which we see here. What you'll notice, though, is that the profile doesn't go all the way to Q equals 0. This is because we had to mask out information from the beam stop. This is kind of annoying both visually because you plot on log plots and that can mess up the scaling, and also because it can mess up some of the processing. So what you can do is you can have RAW automatically start the plot at a further point in the profile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the profiles, I'm going to expand it out, and I'm going to use this QMin spinner here to increase that until I see that line go away, which I think is there. I'm going to put this on a log plot just to verify. Yeah, so it looks like point 13 is the first point that we want to use. So I'm going to go to Options, Advanced Options, and I can tell RAW to do this automatically all the time by going to the radial averaging and telling it to start plots at Q point 13. And we click OK. So now if I load the same image in again, you can see that it's automatically starting at point 13. There's none of the zeros there. The next thing I want to do is I want to add some metadata. This could be things like the name of the beamline or the detector you're using or anything else you think is important. And we can add metadata in the configuration that gets added to every reduced scattering profile that RAW creates. So we open this, and in the 2D reduction we go to the metadata. This is again just a list. It's in dictionary format, so you give it a key and a value. So I'm going to give it detector, and then it's Pilatus 3x1m, which is the value for this particular beamline. And then I click Add, and you can see that appears in the list. And so this will be added to every reduced scattering profile that RAW generates. We now click OK. And we've finished creating everything we need for a basic configuration file. So at this point, I'm going to save the configuration file. I'm going to go to File, Save Settings, and I'm going to save it as SAXS.cfg. And now the settings are saved, and if we were to close RAW and reopen it, we could load the settings back in and reduce images with all of these settings. With that, that's the end of the tutorial. You should now know how to set normalization in RAW.